Hello, folks. I'm Fred McMurray, and we're back with Ray Pillar and Jim Treleaven for more of Pillar's Principles. Our question today is, am I ready to invest my time in this business? So, Ray, I'll dump it to you first. How do I know if I'm ready to invest time in a business? What do I need to answer in order to do this?
Because you can't think of anything else. In other words, other thoughts may come into your head and you say, okay, I'll push those aside. I need to concentrate on the business. And once you're eating and breathing the business, and sorry about the dog, but once you're eating, breathing, and sleeping, and you have no other thoughts, then you know that you will have the time to dedicate to the business because that's all you can do.
So,
Yeah, I think
your
you touched
answer
on
is,
a key
go ahead,
point, Ray, and that is in my experience over all these years and many startups and individuals doing, in most cases, they and most of them are in the tech space, but in most cases, they have an idea for a product or a service, and they're passionate about the idea for that product or service. And that passion does drive them to dedicate the time to do it. In some cases, probably too much, but so I think that's but and there are certainly cases which you're familiar with where people decide they're going to do something, but they don't have that passion yet.
Okay, so from what I'm hearing, it's when this idea come totally is engulfing my brain, and so that's all I can think. All right. Uh, how do I get to that point though? I mean, is this I've got an idea and it just slowly takes over all my thoughts, or is it a hobby to start? Or I mean, it, I've had lots of ideas and there's been businesses that I've gone into, but I except for maybe one most recently. It doesn't, none of them have ever really consumed me.
But that's the word. That's the key word. When it begins to consume you, then you know this is the direction you need to take.
Jim?
Yeah. I'm thinking back to in the last 2 weeks talking with two serial entrepreneurs, successful serial entrepreneurs. And they tend to operate in both cases, they operated in sort of a generally similar space. And so I think what drove them was after each success was to they were aware they were always generating ideas in that space for new things to do, and I think that that gives them the passion to do it. And because in their case, and we can talk about first timers too, but in their case they've done it before, so they have some resources and experience in doing it for sure. And probably the more interesting case is the first timers.
Okay, so I want to go the first timers here because in some ways what you're describing is I'm going to start a business based on a unique idea. Okay. Um, uh, however, Ray, when you went into business with Maid, that wasn't a cleaning business was not a unique idea.
Correct.
So how did you know you were ready to invest in the Maid? Because again, that was not a unique idea. Were you consumed by the idea of cleaning toilets?
No, I was consumed by the idea of providing for my family for the rest of my life. And because as I've talked on previous shows, essentially I was at a point in my life where I needed to do something and I needed to look forward enough to provide for a retirement, and which I'm happy to say I have happily done.
Yeah. Not many people drive a 900-foot nuclear powered bus across the nation. So I want to drill deeper.
In contrast, Ray, is something I will never do, but that's another story.
Drive a nuclear powered bus or clean toilets.
Or retire, more importantly. But
Yeah, well, I figure I'll be dead 3 years before I retire.
let's come back to toilets in a minute. I have another story.
All right, that's fine. We'll come back to toilets in a minute. But I want to drill into that of how, because coming up with a startup that's not been done before or something like that, that's one thing. But the vast majority of people are probably going to go out and buy a business like a franchise or do something that's more established. So how is it you knew when you came to Molly Maid that it was going to be that consuming passion that this is what you're going to do?
Okay, so I took about a year and a half to study all the options that would in my running around and loose in my head, and I took the path of what I felt was least resistance. So doing a franchise is the path of least resistance. And Molly Maid seemed to ring with me. I think it was had more to do with the corporate. I felt comfortable with corporate at that time. And I felt that, they would work with me if, things went a little sideways. And I think they did for the most part, that has a lot to do with it. How you feel, how does your gut feel about the adventure that you're about to get into is going to work, and what's the end result?
So what I heard was you called it the path of least resistance. I think
Path of least resistance. Yes.
I would say is what you did was found the shortest time to revenue.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
So it's, if I would, Jim, I'll let you give us out. But what I'm hearing is when I know I've got when I know what consumes me is the idea of whatever I'm trying to start up, is when I figured out what the shortest path to revenue is, that's when I'm ready to invest my time.
Yes.
And the
Yes.
shortest path to revenue is what every entrepreneur should be looking for.
Yes.
Okay. And I've talked to other folks before where they agonize over this, that, or the other thing. I don't know how many times I've talked to folks or even read it on Reddit where they're agonizing over what I would call minutia rather than going out and doing it.
Yes.
Sure. Yep.
Yes.
So
they're overthinking it. They're overthinking it, and minutia is a perfect word for what they're thinking about, because they're letting those small little things become obstacles.
Jim, you want to take us out of this segment?
Well, I will segue back into my one toilet story, which is a startup, and it's an interesting, it's a technology application actually, but an acquaintance who's actually more of his career is spent in investing, and I'm not sure where the idea came from, but we've been involved, and I have for a long time, in the Internet of Things. And his idea was, and you see them everywhere, porta potties, construction sites, and everywhere. The companies that maintain those have a challenge. I mean, they sort of do a regular refresh cycle and all that, no pun intended. But his idea was to put technology into them that would let the company know when it was time to do that, because I'm sure they get used at different rates. And, it was a very interesting idea, and he was pretty passionate about it. So you can get passionate about toilets. Right.
So what you're saying is he came up with the idea of a crap meter.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it was a technology thing, but an interesting application of technology. Yes.
Yes.
And with the crap meter, folks, we'll wrap up this segment of Pillars Principles. And how do I know when I'm ready to invest in a business idea? Effectively, when the crap hits the ball.
Yeah, and you're passionate about it. Although passionate about crap is another story, but
Thanks to Ray Pillar and Jim Treleaven for making this a really interesting episode.